Good morning, everybody. Thank you for thank you for what am I saying? Thank you for being here. Thank you for turning up. Welcome to my channel. Here we are for another collective reading. Holy Spirit, Holy Ancestors, Holy Spirit Guides. Please keep us protected during this reading. Give us a clear and concise message for the collective, what they need to know today, please, Holy Spirit. No weapon formed against us shall prosper. All negative energy projections will be turned to sender immediately. Where's my words? Dissolved into the ether, deemed ineffective as the Holy Spirit needs fit. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please protect my throat chakra, please, Holy Spirit, my crown chakra for my messages. My heart chakra, my third eye chakra, my solar plexus, my sacral, and my root chakras, please. All my chakras, please keep them protected. Keep the collective protected during this reading. This is really important at this time. There's a lot of projections right now. Okay. So, yeah. So I've got a couple of cards out already. So here what we've got, there's a turning event, right? Something is clouded. There could be something in the cloud. A turning event in the cloud. Unethical. Oh, and that's what I've seen this morning, that's what I've heard. So the clouded event, the unethical, because here we have unethical and we've got environmental transformation. And just before, actually it was after I'd even pulled these cards here, I only just seen the headlines, I didn't read the article because my connection was off. But anyway, what was it, Manhattan was reported some sort of I don't know, what is it, heavy metal, is it alloy in the environment that is not naturally occurring, it has to be man-made. And, you know, like this is giving me I mean, we could all call it conspiracy, but, you know, people say conspiracy theory, but these things aren't theory anymore when it's actually proven, it's in our face, you know, like the geoengineering with the cloud seeding, you know, the chemtrails. I mean, I've seen them going over yesterday. I mean, they're in our face, right? And it's all over the globe. And, you know, people are testing what's landing on the plants and whatnot. And this is why a lot of the time, you know, like now, you know how the water doesn't penetrate through the soil, doesn't go through the plants because this alloy particle just sits on everything. So it's what they're, apparently there's barium as well. I've actually got a lot of evidence for this personally, but it's definitely a thing. So the cards that have come out, this is what it's about, right? We've got the turning event, clouded, so see, well, they call it cloud seeding, you know, to make it rain, or they can make it stop raining, right? They can control the weather, and then they use the heart to shift the stuff around on the wind. It's unethical for the environment. This is environmental. This is an environmental transformation. So, you know, when it comes down to epigenetics, you know, epigenetics is about, you know, like if you can't change the, because it used to be, you know, genetics, genetic engineering, they decide to use epigenetics, which means control the environment to control the the behaviours of the organism, right? So you change the behaviours of the organism by changing the environment that they sit in, rather than trying to change the organism itself. You understand? So when you change the environment, it changes the behaviour of humanity as well as, you know, every other organism. You know what I mean? So this is what this is about. So we're going to pull something out of our sacred destiny today as well. And this is factual, you know, it's not conspiracy and all that shit. This is real stuff, you know. I can show you the evidence, but I'm not going to do that on here because, you know, I'll most likely get shut down altogether. So let's not do that, because then I can't talk to you, right? Okay, so here we go. Turning events. So yeah, I mean, you only got to, it's observation, you know, like in all science, you know, you only got to observe to begin with, and then you do the experiments to verify those findings. That is first experienced in what's in front of you, you know what I mean? Like what's in our face. We see it every day, all right? And that's the other thing with like wildfires and whatnot. We never used to have wildfires. We used to cook on the fire like every day, all through summer. You know what I mean? We used to light a fire in the bush and have a barbecue, all that kind of thing. Never set fire to the bush. There wasn't wildfires. So when you think about it, if you've got alloy particle sitting on everything, and then you've got a fire, I mean, alloy is flammable. This is why we have wildfires. I mean, down south here in Yalgoo a few years ago, quite a few years ago now, they had the Alcoa refinery, you know, the aluminium refinery there. And aluminium is not something that's just pulled out of the ground as it is. It's actually a compound that is created by various ones, so it's a human-made compound, right? So, anyway, the refinery down there was aluminum is the actual chemical it's made from. So I should say metal. Is it a metal? It's not a metal. Alloy is not a metal as such, is it? It's aluminum. Well, I don't understand the actual, you know, the compound itself. But anyway, at the refinery, all through there, the whole town got burnt, right? And then they wonder why, because they got the refinery right there, and all the particles sits all over the bush and everything, and we got a hellfire. It burnt the whole town. Nobody actually commented at all in the media about, you know, like why that went up in flames so badly. It's because the alloy particle that's all through the bush, right? So turning event. What's the turning event here, please, Spirit? So this is to change the environment, to change the behaviour of the organism that live within that environment. We have abundance. The turning event is abundance. That also could mean the turning event. It is to transform the environment. It's saying it's unethical because this is not good for the environment. It's not something that is a good transformation. So this is something that needs to be stopped now, you know. They actually say that they use the geoengineering to and put the particle in the sky to save us from the sun. You know what I mean? To block out the sun's rays so that we don't all get burnt. We just get burnt by the wildfires instead. So clarify the clouded. Clouded. Diligence. Yeah, there's this bird up there in the clouds. diligence. Abundance and diligence. Unethical. Clarify unethical, please, Stuart. Unethical. Unethical fulfillment. So these wishes, or whatever it is, which we will find out, what the end game is, what is the actual motive for doing this in the first place, is, well, I think I said it, didn't I? To transform the environment, to change the behaviour of the organisms within that environment. Okay, clarify. And that's the fulfillment, that's what they want, right? So what they want is unethical, because they want to change our behaviour. And you know, it's always about control, right? It's always about, and it's always been that. To control us is to control and have us totally dependent on the system, right? So, and what did they first do way back? The first things that they did was to dam the water, cut us off the environment. You had to be, you know, like, so if you got hold of the water, you can't survive without water, right? And then they stop people from fishing in their own rivers, and, you know, being able to live off the land, basically, being able to sustain ourselves, because they can't control us if we can sustain ourselves in the environment. But this is how it's supposed to be, because that's God's Eden, right? Environmental. Clarify that. Environmental. Unethical. Unethical fulfillment. Environmental. Focus. The focus is on the environment. So we've been told to focus our energy on this issue. This is something, so we've got all these other issues going on in the world, people going on about immigration and all these things, but nobody's actually saying anything about what's happening to our environment because of what they're doing in the sky. Why is this not being talked about? Because they divert us with all these other issues. They divert our focus. Our focus needs to go back to the environment, even though they, the big focus in the global agenda is called sustainable development, right? It's about sustainable development, but it's not really about the sustainability of the environment, it's about the sustainability of their economics, for their value, for the system rulers. Who are the system rulers? The UN Security Council? Yeah. So they've actually got the patents for the geoengineering. They own those patents. Yeah. Fact. Transformation, environmental transformation. And see, this is giving me two, like this card here, so we've gone, okay, 3. So, okay, so we've got, here we are with the abundance and the flowers growing and la la la, right? Beautiful. And this is the turning event, so to change that, this is the turning event. Using the clouds, there's the clouds. I mean, the clouds don't even look like clouds most of the time now. I have been seeing them recently, but they're changing again, you know, like every now and again they'll let us see some real clouds that look fluffy and white, but a lot of the time we'll get this wispy, you know, like cobwebby looking shit that's not actual real cloud. So this is unethical. So we've gone from those clouds, and then look at these, this is this hazy clouds. See, a lot of people being brought up now, you imagine our kids, they don't actually even know what real clouds look like. You know, a lot of people going back, well, we can go back 25, 30 years now where the clouds have started to change. I actually remember actually walking outside going, something's happened. Something has changed at this time. And there was a smell, I could smell something, right? And I went, something's happened, something's changed right now. And then from that point, we started to get these changes in the clouds. And I think it was like about 20 years ago or something, meteorologists came up with a new cloud. I mean, you know, like if there's no change, if this is not real, how did we all of a sudden get a different type of cloud? And they give it a name. I don't know what the name of it is, but this is the new cloud, this hazy shit, right? And this fallout, this is the aluminium particle, right? This is what this is. Oh, sorry about my fingernails. I've been in the garden this morning again. Well, I'm always out working and whatever, so my fingernails are never good, right? I'm sorry about that, but that's just the way it is. But yeah, there's the particle. So this is the environmental transformation. Okay, clarify the transformation, please, Spirit. Clarify the transformation. Clarify the transformation. I'm going to just get something to show you. So, just pause for a moment. Okay, here we go. Now, I'm not going to show you what I've got in front of me here, but US government patents to alter and control. All right? Modification and manipulation of Earth's atmosphere, ionosphere, magnetosphere, and people. So patent apparatus, a method of remotely monitoring and altering brainwaves. Now, I want you to write this down, right? Get a pen and paper. And I might just give one set of numbers that can be hashtagged, and these numbers that I'm going to give you, right? Powder contrail generation, chemtrail device patented 1965, right? So here's the numbers. 3899144. This is powder contrail generation. I'm going to give you another one, and that's it. And then I will give you something else next time, right? Hashtag apparatus and method of remotely monitoring and altering brainwaves. 3951134. Hashtag that and you'll get the information. Okay? Transformation. Transformation. Clarify. Clarify. Forgiveness. Forgive the transformation. Illumination. Check that out. Illumination. What is it? Aluminum. And look, illumination. Yeah, you got it? And look at the difference in the atmosphere. See all this cloud, and it comes down and it hangs down out of the sky, and it covers everything. See how that's covering? It's up here, it's covering the top layer of everything. And then bottom of the deck, transformation. There we have it. To transform the entire planet. This is fact. It is not conspiracy. It's not a theory. Well, I'm not going to say it's not a conspiracy. What I'm going to say is it's not a theory. It is a fact. Okay, let's pull some more cards. I don't know what's going to come out on this, but we're going to see what comes out. Okay, Holy Spirit, Holy Ancestors, what do we need to... Okay, I'm going to change cards. All right, thank you. We've got different images and probably draw on different images from this deck. My Crow deck's got some pretty wild imagery that we can probably see more, you know. See more cat. Once you see the cat's ass, you cannot unsee it. Abundance. Clarify. The abundance. So this is the natural order of things. The natural law, natural order, right? It's abundant, right? And all those, see, it's providing all this beautiful food and everything in these cups, you know, and the sunflowers, and we need the sun to grow, right? We need the sun to grow things. It is the natural order. You know, the whole environmental scam, you know, there's been a whole scam anyway on telling us how bad the environment was and the reasoning why they had to do what they do, you know what I mean? We have a Queen of Pentacles in reverse, that this is unstable. Two of Swords, it was an unstable decision. You know, it's foolish. Clarify the diligence, please. Clarify diligence. Look at this. From this beautiful abundance of food and everything we need to this desolate devil. Look at this. The river is bleeding, right? The environment is changed. Changed, yeah. But I was going to say chained, but changed. You know? It's epigenics. You change the organism by changing the environment in which it lives. Fulfillment. The Knight of Wands in reverse. The fulfillment is to have no passion. It's turning it upside down. The fulfillment here, like this big peach growing on the tree, you know, that gives us our sustenance, right? The Knight of Wands is in reverse, so, and this is giving me a desolate environment look again. And it is to reduce the passion. It's like taking away the passion and joy from life, you know what I mean? Even the means to procreate, or the whole environmental planet's natural procreation processes, you know, is being destroyed. You know, and the control, see, because putting the Knight of Wands, which is like, this is giving me like, you know, procreation and fertility, right? This is like the Knight of Wands is like a fertility, you know, he's like the Pan god, you know, fertility symbol, right? So it's making everything infertile. Like I was saying, even the penetration of the water, and you know, like the seeds can't grow, and you know, now we have like, you know, like say Bunnings and all these, and the chemical producers, and all these people are the ones that are controlling the seed, and then the farmers have to use their seed, they have to buy the seed, they can't just grow their own seed and then let that multiply in the natural way. This is taking away that passion, taking away that fertility. This is losing fertility. This is a dead, creating this dead earth, right? This is giving me scorched earth policy. Focus. Clarified focus. Fool again. This is the anti-fertility movement. The Fool is in reverse. That means no new beginning, no fertility, no seed generation. Ten of Swords. That was supposed to come out. So we want to focus on reversing this Ten of Swords. This is the focus. This is the focus, is reversing this that's happening, this process. So collective. We know we have the power to manifest, right? Those in the collective, if we're on the same frequency, we're on the same vibration. We are those that cannot be, I was going to say mind-fucked, or manipulated in the mind. Because this is what this actually particular pattern is designed to do, is to, what did I say? Alter and manipulate brainwave. Yeah. Apparatus and method for remotely monitoring and altering brainwaves. So that's to control your thoughts, right? But the collective, my collective, I know that we've got other cross-watchers as well that are actually mind-fucked, right? That are there to bring the death about, but we aren't, because we're the manifestors. We know how to alchemize and alchemize the negative into the positive, right? So this is what the collective is being asked to do right now, is to focus on that reversal of this process that is happening with geoengineering. Reverse the geoengineering is what we want to be praying for, okay? And this is what Spirit's saying, to focus, because this is otherwise destroying the environment. This is unethical, right? To transform the environment in the way that it is happening, and it's happening big, right? We're not going to bring about this death, because that's what it's bringing, death and destruction. Forgiveness. Yeah, this tempered environment, so we need to forgive. Forgive the temperance. Those that were stopping. Forgive those that were stopping this the fertility. Temperance is stopping, right? So this temperance, this geoengineering pattern is designed to temper the environment. Now, you know, like I deal with some people that have been very heavily into the farming industry who have been programmed to temper the environment, right? Really, really work on, you know, like everything's like a fight to them. They've been programmed to fight. And it's the same as natural resource management, right? It's like fight the weeds, fight the pests, fight, everything's a problem, rather than seeing the natural order of things and using the natural order of things as they were meant to be, right? Everything's out of balance and everything becomes a pest because it's been, it's that need to control everything. And this is the way most of our, and I'm not putting shit on any farmers, because we need people to be growing, right? It's just the methods in what they use to grow. But this is tempering even the farmers' processes of how once upon a time they could grow their own seed and then regrow their seed that they grow, right? So they've been tempered to even practice their farming methods the way that they used to be able to, right? So it's all about tempering and controlling everything, right? And changing the mindset of the people that actually have the control, those people that are actually on the ground is, you know, I'm working with somebody at the moment, and it's like I'm trying to, it's like we're working against each other all the time because, well, not against each other, we're trying to work together, but it's the mind processes, it's the conditioning that we have, and in opposition, I'm trying to save and restore the natural environment, and his methods are to kill and destroy it, you know what I mean? Because he sees it all as a problem. I said, why is that a problem? You know, why can't we just leave that as a bit of bush? Because, oh, but how am I going to manage it? And I said, why do you need to manage it? You know what I mean? You just control the weeds that become the problem without destroying the whole lot. His idea was to solve the problem was just to bulldoze the whole lot, rather than actually take the time to do things in a slower process and you know, restore how it should be. And to me, I can see the way to do that, but convincing his way of thinking is like, it's like trying to communicate with a brick wall, really. But, you know, slow and, you know, like non-aggressive ways, diplomatic ways of explaining and just doing. I find that if I've got time here to do things on my own, it's easier to actually show and be an example and show how to do things rather than try and tell somebody and then do it. You know what I mean? It's like you've got to put things in action and show people how it's done rather than... but it's all about control, right? The tempering and the control. It's... And I feel that this is why the forgiveness is here also, is that a lot of people that are going up against each other and they come to loggerheads because they don't use their diplomacy in understanding that people have been programmed, and so it's a deprogramming or of that mindset, or to just show people how to do it rather than come in all aggressive and say, you can't do that, you can't do this, and cause a big fight, right? It doesn't go. So when I first came here, the two neighbours, like, they're like, they burn off practices and things like that, they're at things they have to communicate, right? They have to work together to manage the environment. But they hadn't been talking to each other for about 2 or 3 years. So I came in and I said, no, well, you're going to have to talk to each other. We've got to be adult about this, right? So I rang the guy up and said, look, you know, how can we resolve this problem, blah, blah, blah. Can we come together, have a conversation, let's talk together. And we did. We came to a resolve. So now they're actually working together, talking, you know, human, diplomatic and adult way. Whereas before, it was like having two little boys throwing rocks at each other, you know what I mean? It's crazy. Because they were at loggerheads about how either one of them are going to manage the property. Okay, so the illumination. Clarify the illumination. The Knight of Pentacles is in reverse. Yeah, this is reversing everything, right? This is taking the seed, so it's not offering seed, it's in reverse. So there's the seed, the bird's got the pentacle seed, but it's in reverse. The illumination So what is the goal? You know, this agenda to destroy all fertility. I still can't believe it's about money, right? It could be just about money, but I'm sure it's got to be something bigger than that, because, you know, people with a lot of money, like we're talking about extreme, gross amounts of money, who are always looking for some sort of gratification, because the money doesn't fill the heart, you know what I mean? It's there and then it's gone. You know, because I know people with gross amounts of money and they'll just go to the casino and gamble it all away and go, oh, well, you know, oh yeah, I had a win and then I lost it again, and, you know, like, no big deal, right? Like, but that's their fun. I said, you know, is that all you do for fun? Like, you know, that amount of money to other people, like even to myself, you know, I mean, I would have put the money into something else that would be useful, you know what I mean? The amount of money, the huge amount of money that's just sort of gambled away and we'll spend on this, you know, overindulging in this and that and addictions and whatever. It's like you could have done so much more with that. You could have done, you know, like we could have done something to heal something because there's so much broken, you know what I mean? I mean, even like, you know, for instance, in this place, you know, trying to get this in order, and I'm trying to, you know, minimalize the use of like chemical pesticides, you know. And so I'm suggesting like, okay, let's steam spray it. Oh yeah, but you know, there's all these excuses why not to find the alternative, you know what I mean? Even though, oh, it's too much money. Even though this person in particular would go to the casino and just gamble that much money away in one night, you know what I mean? Where they could be using it to make things better and easier, you know, because most of the time it's like, oh, it's too hard to do this, we've got to use chemicals, we've got to use fire, we've got to do everything the quick, easy way, because they just want to go out and have fun and overindulge in things that don't really even make them happy. Crazy, right? We've got a Queen of Cups and we've got the Nest in reversed. Bad investment. So Queen of Cups has made a bad investment, apparently. Okay, clarify the Nine of Cups, please, Spirit. How are we going to come up with a resolve? Yeah, the burden. So this is a burden to a lot of people. A lot of people don't want to actually recognise these issues because it's all too hard, right? It's too hard to face it, facing the burden. So this is a burden that needs to be faced because we're losing the abundance, we're losing the diversity. And most people will go, oh, it's a conspiracy theory, this, you know, no, does that mean we have to change our habits? Well, yeah, it does. But for a lot of people, that's a huge burden. Even though what they don't realise is it's going to make everything, it will make things easier in the end. You know what I mean? The devil, clarify the devil. Too many there, but I'll take the only one that's sitting up. So this is the message. The messages are coming from, shit. Okay, thank you, Spirit. So this is giving me the, let me read it again. Apparatus and method for remotely monitoring and altering brain waves. There we go, brain waves, this is the effort. This is the devil. This is what has manipulated the minds of people that could actually be doing things the correct ways, but they're consistently being bombarded with their programming, with the programming. And so a lot of the programming too is coming from the, I mean, look at advertising on the TV, especially in rural areas and whatnot, and the amount of promotion of the chemicals and whatnot, and how to control this weed and that pest, and everything's a pest and everything's a problem, and blah 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 blah. So they've got to bring more and more product, more and more pest controls, more and more ways to destroy fertility. You see? So this is the programming. If you've got, and the aluminum, it clogs up well, this is, you know, like, remember when everybody, you know, they got rid of all their aluminium pots and pans and whatnot because they realised that it caused Alzheimer's in people. It clogs up the pineal gland in the brain, the third eye. It keeps people dumbed down, you know what I mean? So that they can't think for themselves, and then they're open to be programmed through the ether waves that they're controlling. So I mean, as the collective and spiritual people understand how we draw information from the ether, I mean, this is the thing, people go, oh, that's all hocus pocus and spooky wooky, right? But they actually don't even realise that this is how we get telephone, we get television reception, you know, like all this comes through the ether, right? It comes through like that. But it's deciphering, and this is the diligence here, deciphering the right information. So we have to decipher and be open and aware of the information coming, right? I mean, when we're talking to somebody in front of somebody, we analyse what they're saying, and we may have an argument or an agreement, right? We decipher what we believe and what we don't. But people are not, they're not open to, and the alloy, the aluminium is clogging that part of the brain for reason. The ability to decipher and use one's, I was about to say emotional intelligence, but that's not it. It's why can't I think of the word? See, the aluminium's got to my brain. Use our discernment is the word I was after. So it clouds our ability to discern the information ourselves. It programs us to just take the information, you know what I mean? And accept that information rather than analyse it and you know, think about it and use one's discernment to decide on what is or isn't a good way to go about things, right? Their ability to rationalise is being dimmed. So, I mean, this is what I mean. Some people you can be arguing with them or discussing something with them. I don't like to say argue because that doesn't get anywhere, right? Discussing something, sometimes you can be discussing with a brick wall, you know what I mean? And that nothing will penetrate that because of the aluminum build-up on the pineal gland. Okay? So you can see how that works, right? And why, because I was saying, why, what is the reasoning behind the rationale into why they do that why they're doing that in the first place. Now there are things we can to do to protect ourselves from that, and like coconut oil is a really good thing. You know, you have a mouthful of that every day. You know, the oils, because drying out the brain without oils, we're told not to have the sunshine, not to have fats, saturated fats, and all kinds of things that they tell us. But even sunscreens are doing more damage than what the sun is. You know what I mean? And it's got these other added chemicals that also work against us. So looking at the alternatives is the way. Because the programming and you know I won't go into all the other things with vaccinations and all that sort of stuff. There's so many. See, they're trying to get us on all angles. You see what I'm saying? And it's all about clogging our systems up to make us behave in a specific way, to go along with the narrative. Clarify the Knight of Wands to keep us out of whack, out of balance. This is and dependent. This person is dependent. This is a codependency, right? Queen of Pentacles in reverse. This person is not in control of their own seed. So, you know, this person has to have their children on the bench. You know, like they can't even, this is artificial insemination is what I'm getting. You know what I mean? Like there's no fertility, so the babies, people are more and more becoming, and because of the foods that they're eating as well, because genetically modified everything is also making people unfertile. Because what's the bottom line? Depopulation. It goes back to eugenics, right? That's the bottom line, eugenics. And so specific things are targeting specific genetics in the environment of that genome. So specific genetics are tolerant to certain things. Certain bloodlines are tolerant to certain things. Others become unfertile. Yeah. So by because what was unethical was eugenics, right? Trying to create the perfect human, right, or the perfect environment by manipulating it and manipulating natural law to control and select specific bloodlines. So because that became an unethical thing to the public eye, they decided to focus, because we know about like Operation Paperclip and whatnot with you know, how after World War II and all the experimentation that went on in Japan and in Nazi Germany with eugenics and experiments, you know, on human resistance and behaviour and all that sort of stuff. Those scientists were given sovereignty to all the colonial countries after the war. So, you know, like Australia, Canada, America, those scientists were sent, New Zealand, sent out to these places to continue those experiments, but in a different way, see? And that's when they started to then use epigenics instead of eugenics, because it became more about controlling the environment. So it continued the experiments, And but epigenetics became more ethical, or promoted to be more ethical to the broader public, so that they could continue with the same experimentation, but they just shifted the focus from just changing the eugenic agenda, like modification or elimination, and eliminating those genetics that they didn't want, and create the perfect human, right? So it went from that to changing the whole environment and the animals within it and all that. So the epigenetics, so the humans that could become tolerant to these certain things that they were projecting into the environment. There's only certain bloodlines that can tolerate things, so that they will survive the transformation. So only certain bloodlines will survive the transformation, and those, because they want the perfect world, right? Perfect humans, the Aryan race thing. Those bloodlines will survive the manipulation, the transformation, whereas others that they don't want in that will be eliminated in the process of the transformation of the epigenetics, the environment of the organism. So we're the organism, right? But this does go right down to the microscopic organism as well. So in controlling all that, you can control everything else. So some crazy ass shit, right? For what? Complete power. Complete power and control. So this is the devil energy, right? Like, because that's what the devil was all about, wasn't it? Trying to be the perfect creator, to trying to outdo God. How can you outdo God who created all things? This is the demonic thing about it is, and those that go along with this, creating this matrix, is actually, it's self-sabotaging, and it's like a death wish, right? Going along with this agenda is a death wish for most, because there's only a small minority in the bloodlines that are immune. Temperance, Page of Cups. This is the seed reversed, the child. And this also, the other thing, like getting rid of the old, the infirm, get rid of the old, infirm, the infected seed, right? And getting rid of the old, those that know, those that are, like the old people have a lot of knowledge on how things naturally grew, right? But we're getting further and further, and that generation is almost gone, right? And so this younger generation coming up don't know, like I was saying, they don't even know what a real cloud looks like, So to eliminate all the older people, because I've heard some young people sort of like are repulsed by old people. And they're all obsessed with like aging, you know what I mean? And so they've all got to have Botox and, all look the same. like robotic AI, like, you know, the beauty is in the imperfection, not the perfection. So this is, you know, beauty in the eye of the beholder type thing. Like, but if there is no variety, there is no diversity, it will eventually just die out altogether, and there'll be no fertility. But the programming coming through the ether is to make everyone feel inferior and not enough. And they don't even realize that, you know, like, to accept and be having gratitude of just even having a body, like giving grace and thanks to God for making you as you are, like to have arms and legs and eyes that see and taste and do shit, right? You know, like, to have gratitude for that doesn't, we don't have to be like the Barbie doll type. We don't have to look perfect, because the beauty actually shines through. So the imperfection of humanity, the imperfection of the environment and the bush, like how many people that have been programmed to think, well, wipe out the bush because it's kind of messy, right? But that's the beauty of it, is that and the diversity of it is kind of messy. But people who are the programming, they want to wipe it all out and grow trees in lines so that it's easily managed. You understand? And you can pick that fruit easier, because it's all about the perfection, and have to kill everything else, because a little bit of weed that grows up like that, oh my God, that looks messy, cut that down, kill that, it's messy. I read a book once called, was it A Perfect Mess? I know that I'm a perfect mess. The accepting of ourselves, we are enough. We are enough. As God created us, we are enough. All of us. Right. But we've all been programmed to believe that things need to be fixed. Things need to be changed. We don't. We are a perfect mess. That's what brings the diversity. That's what brings the beauty. You wait and see when everybody's getting around looking like, you know, a robot, how people will be attracted to those that are imperfect, because that's the beauty, is in the imperfection. But to wipe out all those that are imperfect, and to only have those of a certain way of looking, or, you know, a certain way of breathing, it's going to, and because all those older people, that's why they want to, you know, eliminate the older people. They're the ones with a lot of knowledge, right? They know how it was and how things naturally grow. Whereas if you don't know that, and I know when I was at uni and I was doing some psychology units, and they were promoting the lab-grown meat, and, you know, the genetically modified foods, to accept, and saying that there wasn't enough in the environment for us to, you know, it's all that lack mentality that's been promoted, to believe that we have to do things in a certain way because there's not enough water and there's not enough this and that. There's fucking plenty of it. We've got a big world here, and there's a lot of water on here. You know, there's lies. The environmental dilemma is a lie. Of course, we've got to protect what we've already got, but those that are being considered the protectors are actually the opposite to that. So there's a big deception there, right? getting rid of the old and infirm, the imperfect, is to lose the diversity. And then in the end, everything's fake. And then what? When there's not even anything that you could steal from in nature, there's nothing left, so it'll just eventually die out altogether. The deception, right? The Knight of Pentacles. In reverse. Reversing the seed is the deception. I've just said everything about that. The sunshine. It's like blocking out the sun. So, okay, thank you, Spirit. So what I was saying before, and so this Knight of Cups here too is like, and this is interesting how they've got this fish coming down here. It's like putting everything all out of whack, like fishes falling out of the sky. And but this person's bringing a cup. This horse is bringing this cup. It's like bringing us an offer, saying that we're protecting you, right? We're bringing you love. So this is how it's done. We're bringing you love by protecting you from the sun, right? Is a deception. Because going back to what we were originally talking about is the unethical cloud seeding to transform the environment, right? Apparently it is to save us from the environment, save us from the sun by blocking out the sun using aluminum. Barium's there. I don't know what barium does because I don't know anything about that, but that's something else that they use. And I know there's something else, but I don't know what it is. There's probably a multitude of things now. But anyway, that's from when I did my study. Knight of Cups. Yeah, so this is like coming in with the, you know, like the protection, the safety, over safety. Saving us from ourselves, you know, that's why they come up with these ideas of you know, this overprotective, what do they call that? The nanny state, like, well, we've got to protect you from yourself, shit, you know, because we're not bright enough to make our own decisions, apparently. Yeah, so this is the big decision and this is how they're selling this idea of geoengineering is to protect us from the sun. That's what it's saying. But this is the deception. And Spirit here is confirming this with how this layout is showing me here. It's a confirmation of what I already knew, and I hope that I've been able to educate you on a little bit of this as well. So it'd be good to be able to know what to do next, right? Letting go and let God deal with it. I don't know. Are we going to be guided by God to actually take some sort of action? That's normally how it works, right? We let go, we meditate, we wait for God to speak to us to take whatever action we need to do things, right? Because that's how it works. You know, we have a burden. Here we go. Thank you, Spirit. We have a burden, right? We speak to God about the problem or a problem. That's a problem on its own, right? Because the problem is, this is how they sell these things or these actions, by using a problem. They tell us we've got a problem. It was like going back to sort of like colonial, when they used to say the Aboriginal problem. They were a problem. Why were they a problem? They didn't need to be a problem just because they were there. They were actually quite inviting and, hospitable in the beginning. But it was when the colonialists wanted to control the whole situation, because that was already in the agenda, right? Way back. And that was how and so then they programmed their society, or their apparent perfect society that they wanted it, is to deem a whole nation a problem, right? Rather than, like, say if one person took action and did something wrong, like killed somebody, then what they did is they'd come in and then retaliate and kill a whole tribe because of that one person. You see? Like one weed got in the garden, so you have to go out and kill that weed everywhere, right? It got in my flower bed and made it look messy, so I have to kill that. But now I've got to go out and kill all those ones out there too. So we say to God, right? Well, God, we've got this problem. How do I deal with this? And then, we'll just sit quietly with God. This is what we've been asked to do now, right? Sit quietly with God, and most of the time we'll wake up with the idea to take action in whatever way. And slowly, we, in the collective, have been taking actions to counteract, even though we might not have known what we were doing. Because God didn't tell us everything at once, right? It was a little bit at a time, And He showed us ways and guided us through things. So this is having faith and going with God's guidance, right? Getting those, as long as that's who we're tuning into, and we're not tuning into, but it's about mindfulness, being mindful of the information that we're receiving, so that we understand that it is actually a message from God in the way we take action in what we do. We know that it's right and we know it's wrong, right? We know what's going to be destructive and we know that what is not. But see, those that are not being mindful are open to just receive the information that's coming into them from the ether, because it's been manipulated through the ether, and the promotions through television, billboards, internet, all the media ranges, as well as, but now it's also just coming through, the sound waves through the sky, right? Because this is why they're controlling the geoengineering, because they want to manipulate God Himself, who is the ether, right? God is the ether, and now they want to manipulate God Himself with geoengineering. And the deception of the sun, to say the son of the ether is a deception, is burning us, is hurting us. It's like saying the Son of God, Jesus, is hurting us. God, Jesus' consciousness is love, right? To love all things that God brings us, and being grateful for what God gives us. And so then we care, and we give everything respect, because we know it's come from God, right? And Jesus, the Son of God, Jesus' consciousness is that love and care and grace and joy and happiness. So to say that the sun itself in the physical, right, that sun is deceiving us and hurting us is like saying Jesus is deceiving and hurting us, even though Jesus stood for love of everything, all things that God made. You see? Wow. So this has been pretty amazing reading, right? Okay, so I hope I hope if I've held your attention, you're understanding what I'm saying, right? So for us now to go into our silence and receive our messages now, and we will receive the guidance from God to take action in whatever way that means for you, because all of us is going to be different, right? All of us are going to have different roles in this process of returning to God. You understand what returning to God means? And there is actions that are going to be needing to be taken. Like I said, everyone's going to have a different role and a different purpose in how that happens. And we don't necessarily know what that is at the moment, but it's peaceful, right? To reverse this unethical environmental transformation. The turning of the event, it's turning it back. If I could turn back time, I could find a way to take back all the things that I told you. And you'd say, I don't even know if that's the word. If I could, da, da, da. Yeah, so this is what this is. Turning back time. Amazing. Wow. Okay, Holy Spirit, is there anything else that we need to say? Is there anything else here, Spirit, that we need to tell the collective at this time? I think that's it. That's it. I'm going to leave it there. So, yeah. So, yeah. Wait for the messages. They're coming. Okay. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.